All right, guys, welcome back. This is episode 2. This episode will be strictly dedicated to the question of how I lost 20 pounds and nutrition. Okay? I hope I got you hooked by the title, which is how I lost 20 pounds eating PopTarts. But why I'm doing this is I think there's a lot of common misconceptions out there on nutrition. I want to clear those up. All right. I want you to develop a healthy lifestyle. I want you to develop a healthy relationship with food. And most importantly, I want you to get towards your goals, okay, in the easiest way you can. All right. Now, let's just put a little caveat in there. If you think you have conditions that need to be assessed by a doctor, go see your doctor, okay? I'm not saying that this is how you should do it. I'm just saying this is how I did it. This is what worked for me. And here are also some common misconceptions to take into account when you're trying to get towards your goals and you're trying to find a nutrition plan that fits for you. Okay? I am a proponent of using whatever works for you. Everybody's different, whether it's their their lifestyle in terms of job, family, just the foods they like. Can they cook? Can they not? Okay, all this comes into play, and you need to find what works for you. All right, but this is what worked for me, and I hope it gives you a little bit of insight into my nutrition plan, and then hopefully you can take away something from it that will help you. All right, so I'm going to start off a little bit of first why I decided to lose weight. And what my goals were. 2, how I did it. And then 3, kind of what I learned and what were some of the benefits of the way I did it. All right. But the first thing, why did I decide to lose weight? All right. Well, the first part is I was a little heavy. I was weighing in, I'm just going to pull it up here. On May 7th, that was when I started my diet. I weighed 194.8 pounds. Just for reference, I am 5'6" tall. All right. So, look, I'm a strong dude. And I'm pretty fit, I'd like to say, but that's a little heavy for me. The second thing that kind of kickstarted my weight loss journey or goal, and to be honest, this was probably the one that really got me going, even though just losing the weight should be enough, was that I wanted to compete in weightlifting again. Okay, and the weight class that I wanted to compete in was 81 kilos. So that's 178.2 pounds. And so obviously, I was a little bit off from that. Okay, so that was the goal. And I'm competing in a meet in October. And so I had plenty of time to do it, but I wanted to get down to that weight and hang out there for a couple months before the meet, just so that I can kind of adapt. I mean, it's a big change. We're talking 10% body weight. So I wanted to get there for a few months beforehand and then just be like, low stress in terms of making weight in October or the end of October. So I started May 7th. The goal was to lose about 1.5 pounds a week. Okay. And get down to 178.2 pounds. What I decided to do was not eliminate any foods that I was currently eating, but control how much I was eating. And this is really important. If you take away, one thing from this video, it might be this, but I think a lot of people major in the minors. And at the end of the day, for a majority of us, if we eat less than we burn, we're going to lose weight. Okay? Calories in versus calories out. It's a math problem. It's real simple. You will lose weight. Okay? But I decided to control how much I was eating by tracking my macros. All right? So I'm going to read you here. Now, remember, this is for me. So this is not going to work for you. You need to find what works for you in terms of numbers. But my macros were, let's see, My macros were 171 grams of protein, 263 grams of carbs, and 96 grams of fat, roughly. So that came out to roughly 2,600 calories. And I just followed that every day for 12 and a half weeks. And I ended up losing the weight. And I think I averaged about 1.4 pounds of weight loss per week, which was perfect. And it was very sustainable. Okay, and now we're sitting about, let's see, about like a month out. And this morning I weighed in at 177 pounds even. Okay, so I'm still eating a little bit more now, but I am maintaining my weight pretty easily. So I did not eliminate any foods from my diet. Okay, my wife cooks dinner, which I love. I wasn't going to change it up. I also was not going to stay away from foods that you think are bad. All right. So here are some of the foods that I ate over the course of the 12 weeks. Now, the key here is, first off, I'm not saying you should fill up your diet with processed foods. All right. Second, I did not eat processed foods all the time. It was maybe 10% of my diet. Maybe it got down to 80, 80-20. So 80% good quality foods, 10% to 20% of, what you'd call bad foods. Okay. So I ate things like PopTarts. I ate things like cereal, Frosted Flakes specifically. Very good. I had ice cream. Okay. I went out to eat and had things like sushi. And again, like, not that this is good or bad, but we're talking like higher calories. I had sushi. I had hamburgers. I ate bread. Oh my gosh, I had bread. So those are just some of the foods that I included into my diet. Now, the funny thing is, even though I included those foods, I actually think, if I look back at it, I ate more fruits and veggies than I ever have. Okay? And especially the veggies, things like broccoli, asparagus, I'm trying to think of some others, but especially those veggies that are basically no calories, I ate a lot of those because here's why. I didn't track those. So I had some rules. I had to hit my numbers every day, or as close to it. It was pretty accurate. And I could eat as many veggies as I wanted, all right, without tracking. Okay. Now, things that were, like sweet potatoes or rice, I definitely tracked. Okay. It was a little higher in calories, but I never tracked the veggies. Okay. And so, I know we're going to have this, people are going to say, oh, like, Ben, eating PopTarts isn't healthy. And what I want to teach you is how we can incorporate all foods that we like into our lifestyle and still get to our goals. And here's how I want you to look at it. Okay. Let's say you want to save money. What are you going to do? I mean, the first thing you're going to do is look at your bank account and see how much you have, right? We need to know where we're starting. And then the second thing you're going to do is you're going to track how much money's coming in, whether that's through earning it through work or whatever, and then how much is going out, how much you're spending. Now, we obviously want to spend less than we're coming in from work or whatever else that we make money from. That's how we're going to save money. Now, eating is the same. If we want to lose weight, we got to eat less than we burn. Okay? What's cool about this is the way I did it is we have two types of foods. So I don't want you to think about foods as good or bad. I want you to think about foods in terms of cost to your daily budget. We have quality foods that are cheap, but you can eat a lot. Okay, so think your lean meats, your sweet potatoes, your avocados, your veggies, your fruits. They're good quality, but low cost. You can eat a lot of it, and it's also going to make you feel full. Then we have the high cost items. These are your ice creams, your more processed foods. Okay, high cost. All right, because they're going to cost a lot of calories, but you're not going to eat as much of them. So low quantity for that cost. And what we can do is we can combine both groups of food into our diet to hit our budget. And that's really at the end of the day what we need to do. We need to hit our budget every day. Okay? And that's what I did, and that's what allowed me to lose weight. I ate less than I burned. Now, I want to talk a little bit about just my exercise program very briefly, because I don't want to spend too much time on this, because you can really do whatever you like as long as we're eating less than we burn. But my program, I worked out 5 days a week with 2 rest days. I lifted weights 3 days a week for maybe an hour to an hour and 30 minutes. I did cardio, mostly in the form of running, 2 days a week. I think I was usually 30 to 40 minutes, and there was no warm-up. So those were quick sessions. I'd just go out and jog. And then I took 2 rest days. I would say most days I went for a walk. I'd hit at least 10,000 steps or more. So that was my activity. Nothing crazy, all right? But, so I did that, hit my budget every day, and that's what allowed me to lose the weight. Now, what do I think the benefits are from doing this, and what did I learn? And here's what I learned. First, from tracking, this allowed me to really determine if I was actually hungry or if I just wanted to eat because I was bored. And I found that oftentimes before this, I was eating a lot because I was bored. So for example, you're sitting on the couch on the weekend watching Netflix, you grab a snack. You're, late at night, I would always get after dinner this craving for something sweet, right? That's extra calories that would add up. But this allowed me to kind of see that a lot of times I was eating when I wasn't hungry, okay? These were also a big thing. So I'm not really a huge fan of the carbonated drinks, but these are like no calories. And when I was hungry, I would have one of these, and oftentimes it would kind of get rid of that feeling. Okay, but I learned kind of to differentiate between those two things. 2, because I didn't eliminate any foods, I found it much more sustainable long term. And the proof is we're a month out and I'm maintaining my weight. So a lot of times people will eliminate all these foods, they lose 15, 20 pounds, then they hit their goal, but then they go back to eating all the foods that they were before. And what happens? Well, of course, they gain the weight right back, and then some. So what this allowed was a much more sustainable approach, because I knew I could have whatever food I wanted. I didn't feel guilty about eating it as long as it fit in my budget. So if there was one day where I was craving a bowl of cereal, no big deal. I could have that bowl of cereal, and I'm not overeating, just fitting it within my budget. The second part of that is exactly what I just said there is I'd have the bowl of cereal, but because I measured it out, I wasn't overeating. And here's what I'm talking about. You want to have a bowl of cereal. You grab that box and you just pour it in. You fill up the bowl. You've probably poured in 2+ servings, maybe 3. When I measured it out, I measured out 1 serving, which for the Frosted Flakes, I think was 1 cup. That's it. And so I didn't overeat the cereal, but I still hit my craving that I was having. And so I found this much more sustainable. I could incorporate all the foods I wanted while still reaching my goal. Okay. And then the third part is, even on the good quality foods, I started to see where I was kind of overeating and how to control my portions regardless of whether you consider the food good or bad. Okay. And this was especially obvious at dinner time. For whatever reason, before this, I tended to kind of backload my food. And this wasn't intentional. It just, I don't know, just happened. But I would eat, kind of gradually more as the day went on. And then dinner would come around and I would eat a ton. Okay. And I would have like multiple servings. And what I realized is not only was I overeating, but I wasn't getting the appropriate balance. And so I was inconsistent with how much protein I was getting, how many carbohydrates I was getting, and how much fat I was getting. So the macros really allowed me to make sure I was consistent amount of protein, consistent amount of carbohydrates, and a consistent amount of fats. Now, the most important benefit to this whole thing, okay, was that I got stronger. All right. So for me, my goal was to get down to the 81 kilo weight class for weightlifting and compete. But obviously, I don't want to lose all the strength I had being 195 pounds. And so over the course of the 12 and a half weeks, I lost 17 pounds, but I was able to PR my clean at 160 kilos. I hit a 155 kilo split jerk, so 340-ish pounds. I hit a 332 pound clean and jerk. I hit a 257 pound snatch. And I hit a 205 kilo, 451 pound back squat. So some of those are up from before I started. Some of those are about even. But that was the goal, is to maintain as much strength as possible coming into this, last couple months before the meet. So that's about all I have for you. I'm just going to repeat a couple of things I said, which was, one, I'm not saying this will work for you. All right. You got to find what works for you based on your lifestyle and your goals. Two, I'm not saying load up your diet with a bunch of processed foods. All right. I'm just saying you can incorporate that 80-20, 90-10 rule, and you can definitely hit your goals. All right. And still be extremely healthy. Three, I think it's really important to look at foods based on how much they cost and how much you can have of it. Okay, so repeating what I said earlier, we have the foods that are low cost in terms of how many calories, but you can eat a big quantity. And then we have the foods that are high cost in terms of calories, and you can eat a low quantity, right? Very important. It's like picking a fantasy team, right? Tom Brady's worth a lot. You got to balance it out between the ones that are worth a lot and the ones that are worth, or not a lot to the salary cap to make the best fantasy team. Okay. And finally, just be open. Okay. I think focus on the big picture. Focus on how many calories you're getting in, whether you want to incorporate, all the foods or not. And that will help you get to your goals. All right. At the end of the day, if you're getting to your goals and it works for you, that's all that matters. If you're not getting towards your goals, then you got to try something different. I hope that was helpful. I hope you got to learn something about how I approached my nutrition and how I was able to lose roughly 20 pounds in about 12 and a half weeks by incorporating all foods into my diet.